So I'm here with our good friend Greg from Xera Plants, and you might remember it was just a couple of weeks ago that we talked with Greg about specific plants for our area, and we're going to do that again, except we're going to do it right here in your yard, which is breathtaking. So
Thank you.
let's start from the beginning, Greg. What was this when you took it over? Because it wasn't this, was it?
It was not this. This was a very traditional Portland-style garden, a lot of lawn in the front. There was a large street tree in place and a large group of foundation plantings of rhododendrons growing around the house. Kind of blocked a lot of the windows. So not a lot of diversity going on here. So being an avid gardener, I wanted to transform it into kind of a very lots going on kind of garden space. So obviously the lawn, shrubs, all that kind of stuff had to go. So the street tree ended up having to come out because it was almost completely rotten.
Yeah.
So that turned what was going to be a shade garden into a full sun garden. And so in planting that, a lot of the plants that I grow at Xera are suited for full sun. So I kind of wanted to do an experimental garden to see what would grow, what would look great all year with little to no summer water.
Because you really do. You are very good about thinking about the water that we use. Even though it seems like we have all the water in the world in this area, you're still very aware of that. And all of these plants did that, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely. They've got to be able to take 40 inches of rain in 3 months, and then they've got to be able to go for 6 months, as has been the case lately, without any water. So everything here was planted 4 years ago.
Wow. And it's full.
And it's getting full. So yeah, we're going to see what happens in a couple of years. But the first step I did was getting rid of the lawn. I sheet mulched, which is layering cardboard and some planting mix on top of the lawn to let it naturally die, decompose. Everything here is planted in the native soil, so I didn't do any soil amending because I kind of wanted to see how things would grow, what's really going to thrive with the native dirt we had as well as the native rainfall.
Yeah, and then, you're also, even though you are really conscientious about watering, you're still a believer that you come out here and pay attention to your garden, which is kind of key.
Definitely,
and still have to spot water once in a while.
There's a few things, especially things that I want to keep blooming through the summer, that I'll come out and do a little bit of spot watering on. When putting in low water gardens, one of the things I like to start with is choosing your structural plants. So we've got some bigger manzanitas behind us, the red buds of the street trees. Picking structural plants that don't need any water at all, so you can concentrate your efforts on some of the flowering perennials, that kind of thing.
And that makes sense. Now, this is the front yard, but you've also got a really great backyard as well. Some temperature differences there, so let's walk back there and talk about that a bit.
Sounds good.
So now, Greg, we are in the backyard here, and you kind of believe that there's really a difference, sometimes quite often, in fact, between just the front and the back of a house. What are the differences here?
Yeah, so in picking the plants to do back here, it's a lot more protected by the buildings. There's a lot more shade cast by the patio here. So the plants I chose back here are quite a bit different. The front yard's very exposed. This I've got a little bit more shade, and it's actually kind of challenging finding plants that can take that shade during the winter from the house, but then get a little more sun in the summer. I also wanted to do a vegetable garden back here, so there is a small vegetable garden, which is where I save a lot of my watering goes into the vegetables, and also create kind of a nice secluded place to hang out on a hot summer evening. It's a lot cooler back here.
Well, and I noticed too that throughout the garden I see, and even in your containers, you have a lot of like a pea gravel, a small gravel. And why do you do that versus regular bark dust?
One thing I've noticed in doing this low water garden is that the pea gravel insulates the soil better than bark dust. I've used hemlock bark as a mulch. Mulch in general is going to help conserve soil moisture of any type, but the gravel, water does not evaporate as quickly out of the soil, so it actually retains the soil moisture a lot better than bark mulch does. Same thing goes for containers.
So, and then also in the watering, with the gravel, it would just go directly to the soil. It's not going to be soaked up by any of the covering.
Yeah, the gravel tends to break the surface tension of the soil. So when you're out doing your watering, it actually soaks into the soil. Because as you know, watering in the summer, it's always hard to tell, am I actually doing any good here or watering this plant?
Well, and being in the horticulture industry, you sell plants for a living, you grow plants for a living, and then you had to come, I'm sure you didn't want to come home and have to water at home too. So you've really created an entire garden that is very limited to its water use now.
Definitely. And it's an experimental garden, so there have been a few failures, but it's been interesting to find out, like, hey, this plant is a winner.
So Greg, a lot of these plants, of course, can be purchased at Xera, but you also have a great pamphlet that you have at the store.
Yeah, it's called Water Efficient Plants for the Willamette Valley, put out by the Regional Water Providers Consortium, and it's a great starting guide if you want to research some more about low water plants.
So there you have it, my friends. So if you want more information on how you can conserve water and buy really water-wise plants, you can go to gardentime.tv, and we can click you over to the Regional Water Providers Consortium website, where you can download that same pamphlet right in the comfort of your own home, and you can be smart about saving water in your own garden. Greg, thank you so much, my friend.
Thanks so much, William.